Okay, maybe I just...
Done.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session on the Women of Quantum. As I was saying just a few minutes ago, we'd like to welcome you to the next hour that's going to be filled with really interesting perspectives from people who are very active in the field of quantum from very many different perspectives, and men and women, I should say. We have, first of all, a brief presentation for Denise Ruffner, who I think is very well known across multiple continents. She'll be sharing her insights and her experience in the field. Then very briefly, I will share some of the insights that we've gathered from a questionnaire that we launched. In fact, it wasn't that long ago, Maria, was it? It was a few weeks ago, and we've had close to 50 responses already. So it's something that we'll be very much looking to share and to repeat with you in the future. And then we have, as I say, an amazing panel with different perspectives from different parts of the quantum value chain, but also from Olivier Tonneau, an investor. So very much looking forward to asking questions and to hearing the diversity of views in that. Having women to be part of the conversation or even shape the conversation is really important, but equally important is to have men as part of the conversation and part of the solutions moving forward. So I think without further ado, Denise, I'd like to first of all invite you to the stage, and then perhaps I'll share some of the data that we have from the questionnaire, and we'll move then on to the survey itself. So over to you. Thank you.
Hi, and I wanted to wish everyone happy Women's Day. So part of the reason I believe why this date was chosen was to celebrate Women's Day. So let me share my screen and talk a little bit about what we've been doing in an organization called Women in Quantum. Let me go to slideshow. All right. So women, let's go to the next slide. So my name is Denise Ruffner. In case you don't know me, I have this very varied background, and I've worked for IBM as a leader in genomics and HPC. And from my knowledge in HPC, I was brought over by request to the IBM quantum team, where I started very early. So I was around when the 5-qubit device was put on the cloud, and we were surprised at how many people were using it. So while at IBM, I was recruited by one of the startups, and that startup was Cambridge Quantum Computing, where I was chief business officer and did a lot of different things. It was a great experience, traveled the world, really just did a lot, and I'm very appreciative of that. While I was at Cambridge Quantum, I was asked to be on a press release for this new company, or this company that was coming out of stealth, IonQ. And when I called the president to say thank you and tell me about your company because I'm on your press release, he gave me the hard sell. And so I moved to IonQ as VP of Business Development. And after a year at IonQ, I was recruited by Atom Computing as Chief Business Officer and spent a year there, and then decided to take some time off. And that's why you see the question mark. I think a lot of us women experience maybe a little burnout, and it's important to take some time for ourselves. Now, what was interesting is when I joined Cambridge Quantum, I was inundated with 10 to 20 calls a week from women around the world looking for advice. And they wanted to know, how did I break the glass ceiling and get into the C-suite? How did they keep from getting passed over for promotion? They felt like men were only promoted, but as a woman, they weren't. They wanted to get management to listen to their ideas. Many cases, they were the only women, and they wanted to know how to earn respect. and how to handle challenges such as children. So, of course, I tried to talk to everybody and help everybody and give them advice. But after a month, I realized that I couldn't handle it because I had a full-time job and I couldn't handle 10 to 20 calls a week. So I mentioned this to a friend and he said, start a community. So what I started was a group called Women in Quantum, and this was in December 2019. And what we wanted to do is provide a space for women to interact, network, get mentoring, and a little education. So in 2019, I'll summarize what we've done later. We did in 2020, early 2020, we did a survey where we looked at founders, CEO, heads, and VPs of Quantum. And we looked at a comparison of women and men. And we found out that of 716 men, it was 782 people, I think, and 50 women in total and 550 men. And 50 Caucasian women and 550 Caucasian men, and very little ethnic diversity on the women's side. And you can see there were still significant amounts of men. So this was something that encouraged us to continue to move forward with Women in Quantum because we wanted to help women achieve higher roles. Now, from 2020 to 2022, we accomplished a lot. We had over 10,000 attendees to our events. We had diverse speakers, participants from 40 companies. We had mentoring over 2,000 hours. We helped place women at top corporations and did just a lot of different things. So during 2022, or at the end of 2022, I read this quote by Sundar Pichai, who's from, and I'm mispronouncing his name, from Google. And he said, a diverse mix of voices leads to better discussions, decisions, and outcomes. And this got me to thinking that Women in Quantum is a very powerful group, but I think we wanted to also look at diversity in quantum. And so what we've done is we've just formed a diversity in quantum group. We have our new website here, and I encourage you to check it out. It's beautifully done. This is a charity, so we've applied for a 501c. And we're in the middle of a soft rollout now. We're getting sponsors, which we're inundated with. And then we will have a virtual summit in June, which all of you are invited to. There's no cost. We just would love your participation. And in this organization, we have 3 groups. So we're going to continue Women in Quantum. We're going to continue Women in Quantum, but we're going to also add separate organizations for LGBTQ and BIPOC. So we're very excited to launch Diversity in Quantum. Please don't think we're losing our focus on Women in Quantum, but we also want to expand to other diverse groups and give them the same support that we've learned how to do in Women in Quantum. So thank you for your time to listen about Women in Quantum and the new organization divvyq.org. And I look forward to the panel and hearing all the experience of everybody here. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. That was a wonderful introduction to what is going to be a very full hour. So without further ado, and please, everyone who's joined this webinar, if you have questions, please do write them in the chat, and my colleague Maria from QuiC will be asking them or calling them out at the end of the session. We will leave at least 10 minutes for those interactions between you and the different panelists, and I'm sure that you'll have questions for Denise towards the end of the session, as I say. So allow me to share my screen. I'm just going to go through, excuse me a second. I might find one. There we go. There we are. And hopefully I can find the right button here. There we go. To just explain a little bit perhaps about QuiC, which we haven't done yet. So everyone on the panel is a member actually of QuiC or is associated to QuiC in some way. And QuiC is the European Quantum Industry Consortium. We do have associate members who aren't private companies or corporates, but the vast majority of members are actually from the private sector. And I think that's what makes this really powerful, the ability to bring different views, companies of all sizes, but essentially companies that have a real interest in making this a very dynamic ecosystem in which our products and services are of use to society and to businesses, not just in Europe, but worldwide. We have regular panels and webinars in which we share some of the issues that are really impacting the way that our businesses and the quantum industry is going to grow in the future. And on the occasion of today, International Women's Day, the theme, of course, had to be women and quantum. So we've just had the pleasure of hearing from Denise. And what we're going to be doing, we've just changed this order slightly because I'm going to be sharing with you some of the results of a survey we conducted a few weeks ago. We started it a few weeks ago, and we've got some really interesting findings that confirm that Denise's experiences when she started in IBM are still very much issues that women in quantum are facing today. And then it is the responsibility of the panel, we're going to put them all on the spot here, to really try and, I suppose, dive deeper into some of those data points and to really describe what their experiences have been, things perhaps that they've lived differently, and really importantly, some of the solutions that they think that we can all work together and put forward to making this a really inclusive ecosystem, as Denise has pointed out, not just for women, but including diversity in all its forms. So before I go into a few slides on the survey, I just wanted to introduce the panelists, and I'll introduce again just before the panel. But Jelena Trobic, business development, responsible for business development in quantum technologies at Zurich Instruments. Welcome, Jelena. Vanessa Diaz, CEO of Lux Quanta. Welcome, Vanessa. Chloe Poisbo, CCO of Alice & Bob. Welcome, Chloe. Olivier Tarnot, partner at Quantination. Ines de Vega, IQ Quantum Computers. Welcome both. And I'm your moderator, Tanya. So, and again, just to highlight there, the opportunity that you'll have at the end to ask questions, but please do start writing them in the chat so that Maria can pick them out at the end. So just a few figures, first of all, perhaps on the profile of the respondents. So we had 47 valid responses across 15 countries, which was quite amazing because QuiC is predominantly European, certainly membership is European, but it just goes to show that actually the reach and the talent in quantum exists globally. And we're very pleased to have had this international impact or this international reach in terms of the survey. We're looking forward to increasing those numbers then in the future. The three top countries were Germany, France, and the UK. Germany, as you can see there, significant amounts of response come from Germany. The vast majority of women responding have PhDs in quantum related field. 48% of them are working in quantum computing, and over half of them have 10 years professional experience in quantum, professional experience, and at least 2 years of that professional experiences in quantum, which I think reflects that this is still quite a novel space, not necessarily for research, but certainly for industry. So a few figures now on how they see themselves and their experiences within the quantum industry. 43% believe that their contributions are less appreciated than male co-workers. 45% that they are less supported to pursue leadership positions. 45% believe that they are invited to speak at industry events less often than male co-workers. And I know that surprised me because we were having a conversation when we were preparing for this panel, and you'll see this is also reflected in some of the figures later on. Some of us do feel that sometimes you're invited to do things just because you're a woman. So it's quite interesting to see this figure. And 65% believe that they have to prove their value and credibility each time they establish a new contact or initiate a new project in the field. And that's a positive thing. So 77% believe that their work is peer reviewed, analysed or scrutinised equally to their male colleagues. So that's a really positive thing, right? So once you're working and once you're actually performing the tasks and delivering on what your commitment is to the company, then there's less perhaps of a discrepancy. 70% believe that they have equal strategic and financial control over their work compared to their male colleagues. And in fact, there was, I think it was 7% believe that they had more strategic and financial control, which again was interesting. Sorry, no, it's 28% is here. So I think it was 7 overall. If we look at what they believe their contributions to quantum have been over the years, we've differentiated in terms of their contribution to their company and contributions to the industry. And 70% of them believe their contribution to the company is recognised, and those contributions are technical, everything from algorithms to QUBDO problems or prototypes or QKD. But also foundational contributions. And what we mean by that are contributions that are going to make their company more relevant to their end users, their customers, and more resilient, whether it's by bringing in sales or creatively helping to solve problems. If we look at the industry contributions, there perhaps there's a little bit of a drop. Only 61% there believe that their contribution to the industry is recognised. And again, we have technical contributions, tailored optical engines, quantum noise, information security knowledge. But again, foundational contributions, creativity again comes up, user-centered product design, and translating quantum to business. We also asked on what types of barriers they'd had to overcome to get to their positions within their companies. Fighting for a seat at the table, that was named by several women. We've only just begun to done the analysis. We closed the survey on Monday night, so we haven't had quite enough time to do this, but we will be publishing the main findings through QuiC in the weeks to come, so please do stay tuned. Acquiring specific quantum expertise, again, this refers to the fact that quantum is still, it's a very technical field, and women transferring to quantum companies or to quantum roles within a company such as IBM need to gain more in-depth knowledge and sometimes need to learn a little bit more about the technical foundations of the quantum solutions that they might be presenting to their customers. Fighting the imposter syndrome, very common again, and probably something that is not just related to the quantum field but other technical fields, and this is the thing that I'd really like the panel to explore and to comment on. And finally, a barrier relating to the market maturity. Quantum is a relatively new market, certainly on the commercial side, and a lot of women felt that they had to do a lot of explanation, not necessarily more than male colleagues, by the way. This was not it compared to your male colleagues. This was just what type of barriers have you had to overcome to really perform well in your job and deliver what your company expects you to deliver? The final question, what do you think we need to do to attract more women into the quantum industry? Creating supportive environments, not just for women, but also for men that may not necessarily fill in or fit in with those typical stereotypes that we have of a successful person in a company. The second most common, or equally as common perhaps, are like technical contributions made by women, not by labeling as diversity or equality and inclusion hires, but really highlighting women's contributions for the fact that they have actually done something outstanding, whether it's technical or otherwise, and making sure that they are the face of these achievements publicly, not just in small groups, that recognition has a broader resonance and dissemination and communication. Equal treatment, including equal pay. Women still are paid less than men. Quantum is no different to any other field. And finally, include men in the conversation, and even train men. Sometimes there are questions, again, we're going to be exploring this in the panel. What is unconscious bias, and how can you overcome it? What type of techniques can you use to check, as a man or as a woman, I have to say, that you don't have those unconscious bias in the whole process of recruiting, hiring? So as I promised, again, bringing the panel, we've heard from Denise Ruffner, who's the president of Women in Quantum, and helped really shape some of the discussion that we need to have. We also have again with us Vanessa, Chloe, Ines, Elena, and Olivier. And now I shall stop sharing so I can see you all. And I won't invite you to the stage because luckily you're already on the stage. But perhaps if we could start with Ines. You have a very technical profile in quantum. Could you perhaps share with us what was your quantum awakening moment? What made you choose quantum as your career path?
Yes, thanks for the question. I love the expression quantum awakening moment. I think this awakening moment came back from my university studies, and I think right from that moment I became quite fascinated by the precise mathematical structure of the theory, not to mention the intriguing phenomena that it describes. And I was very interested, and still are, by the fact that it works so well. So it has been experimentally benchmarked several times. And despite its axiomatic structure and the very many open questions that still exist related to the theory. So in that sense, I truly believe that there are many, many breakthroughs that are still to be made in the field. And this is also what makes me think that I have reached my destination to actually continue in this very exciting topic.
So you were interested there. It was exciting because you were breaking boundaries of knowledge. You were really exploring concepts and uses of technology that hadn't been explored before. Yelena, how about you? Because you have a very different profile. You're more about business development. You're more about bridging that and the markets.
Exactly. So I'm also a physicist. I'm a condensed matter physicist, and I was actually fortunate to, after my postdoc, to go to Zurich Instruments, where the like-minded people decided to actually start making products for quantum computers. And I also see it as a journey. We all know that destinations are many, and we are looking forward to take the fruits of the labor that we are and the path that we're on at the moment, and to bring to the society something fundamentally new that comes from physics, and it's there and will not be let's say influenced by funding or anything else, and we just need to continue working on it, and to bring something, as I said, fundamentally new to the society.
So there's quite you both coincide in that. It's that interest in discovery, in finding something new that you can not just study under a microscope, but that you can then put at the service of everyone in the world. Maybe Vanessa, is that because you have had a slightly different career path? Tell us about how you came to be in quantum.
Well, I'm a telecommunication engineer, so I worked over 5 years doing very technical work. And then I realized that I wanted to be more deciding the strategy of the team, having a view on what was going on and the reason why, and be part of it. So that's when I changed careers. Changed careers. I did a master in business and marketing, and then I landed my best job ever at Corning. For 11 years, I was developing markets in EMEA. So I could work into this commercial realm where I learned a lot about how to do business and marketing and mature a product. And that's when eventually, in my personal time, I was reading about quantum physics because I was fascinated about it. And it got to a point in my career where I did reach that point where I had nowhere to grow into, or the options weren't what I needed. Not because I didn't try. So I did do what I was supposed to be doing. So asking for the place and asking for this and that. The company was taking care of me, but there was no place to grow into. So when this opportunity passed by, oh my gosh, I just had to go for it, because this was the second, but actually the best job ever, because I can lead a team. I can help design the strategy. I can build the sense of belonging and design the adventure to do it, to execute it together in a state-of-the-art industry. So it's my ideal job, to be honest. It's tough, but it's really cool.
No, and I think that cue Olivier, because for those of you that don't know, Vanessa is CEO of Lux Quantum, a startup. They've just closed a round recently, Vanessa, so congratulations, I think, on that.
No, we are on
you're
it
on
right
it.
now.
You're on it.
Yeah, we're
oh,
on it
okay.
now,
Well,
yes.
that's a good chance. Well, then an opportunity for any VCs in the audience to contact Vanessa for a piece of the action. But Olivia, I think that this is a really good point at which to bring you in the conversation, because you're an active VC in quantum with 91 million euros testing companies. I'm sure you've already, in fact, I know you've already deployed some of that. But can you give us some figures around women founders in quantum? Because Vanessa is not that common, is she?
No, she's not that common. And by the way, I believe we have an appointment scheduled to discuss about the financing round. So yeah, I totally share what Denise said in introduction. We firmly believe that it's important to have diversity in a team. It's working very well in the research field, because in all university labs, there are mixed and diverse teams with people from all over the world. And we believe it's important to replicate that in the quantum startup as well. Now, if we look at figures, which we have done in our portfolio, everyone is showing its stats. So I will show what we have in the 24 companies in which we have invested. So first, to start with, if we look at, in the beginning of the companies, most recruits are PhDs or engineers. So if we look at how many women in this field, engineer or science PhDs, well, depending on the stats and the figures, we can account for 20 to 30% of women who graduate in those fields. And that's the basis that we can start with. If you look at the 24 companies in which we have invested, there are roughly 20% women in those companies. So quite, the 20 to 30% in science studies is not enough. It's the first bottleneck. It should be at least 50-50. But then the women are willing to go into startups and to work into companies as much as they are willing to work and do scientific studies. So that's not a big bottleneck there. Now, the big bottleneck is to have women in the founding role. And what we see in our portfolio is that women as founder of startups represent less than 10% of founders. And this is a big drop compared to the 20% working in the companies. And if we look a bit more closely, we have 40% of the companies with at least one woman as a founder. So that means that more than half of the company are founded by male only. And when you have a female founder in the team, then it's usually 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, which accounts then in the end for the less than 10%. And as an investor, we don't have much of a grip there, because when we arrive and start looking at the company, the founding team has already been established. Now, what we can do is to help the company recruit more women in C-level jobs. And this we have a grip, because as an investor, we have a say in how the management of the company is going to be set up and built. So that's where we try to have an impact. And very concretely, the way we do it is when there is a leading C-level position to fill, we want the company to generate as many candidates that are women as candidates that are men. And that's very, very simple to put in place.
Thank you, Olivier. So essentially we're saying that you found proportionately half as many women in founding or C-level roles as there are working in quantum generally. And then that you have the power to influence, once the companies come to you, the fact that there should be more women on the boards and leading positions for the company. But what you can't do is influence the women coming to you in the first place as founders or co-founders. So there's something there that the rest of us need to do, or someone in the ecosystem needs to do. Chloe, cue you, I think, for this one, because that reflects how you came to Alice and Bob, I think a little bit. You came in and you are one of the pillars of the company, I know. Tell us about, first of all, how you got into quantum, and secondly, what is it that made you take on that level of responsibility, and what you think are the barriers to more women coming in, stepping forward and saying, I want a seat at the table?
Yeah, so I'm also an engineer at the beginning, but I moved quite rapidly to business as I co-founded the first startup, not in quantum, but I realized that a business background is really useful. So I did a master's degree in international business. And then I came back to France, and I decided to not start again a new startup, but to help the startup to grow. So I joined an incubator specialized in deep tech, based in Paris. And so I help a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of male actually entrepreneurs, because in deep tech it's often the case, not only in quantum. And I met Theo and Raphael, the both founders of Alice and Bob. I think it was at the end of 2019, and I started to help them to build the startups and to do everything for the beginning. I was helping 20 startups at the same moment, so it was a lot of different profile. And but actually, I did dive into quantum, and I think I felt the same thing that Ines, Yelena, and Vanessa told us. It's a new thing, it's a new era, and a new industry. And so I found it really interesting to be part of something at the beginning. So there's a lot of research for a long time in quantum, but we are in a nice moment when the research is going to the industry, and so I really enjoy the fact of being able to help these two young profile to launch the startup. So I helped them through the incubator for a year, and then I joined them. And when I decided to join Theo and Raphael, I chose that I wanted to have a strong impact in the company, as I was doing it from the incubator. And so we decided that I will join as a CEO. And so I took the responsibility for all the subject related to the growth of the company. So the HR part, the finance, and the business. So it's a lot of different things. Of course, at the beginning, everything, a lot of work for only one person, and then we are building a team. And at that moment, actually, it's not easy to recruit women. And as I really wanted to be able to bring women into the team, I think that what Olivier told us is that even if we are trying to have equal number of candidates, male and women, it's hard to have this number because sometimes there is not enough women, but often it's just because they don't think they belong to a deep tech company. So even in the HR marketing business related position, at the beginning there's 50-50 male and women, but less women than men are applying at this type of position. Actually, it's what we are saying at Alice and Bob, and we tried a lot of stuff to reverse the balance. So yeah, trainings for the managers, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do. I can deep dive on that, but
yeah, no, and I'll come back to that point. I just wanted to bring Ines in at this point because even if you're not quite 50-50, you do have a lot of women working at IQM. So what is it that you've been able to do to even attract women to apply? Because I think that, you know, what we're hearing is that sometimes women find that they don't see themselves reflected in those job descriptions. They don't see that the skills and attributes that are being required are things that they say, yes, that's me, yes, that's me. And I know that, was it you, when we were preparing for this panel, somebody said that was exactly me. You know, when I have a good day, I say, yes, that's me, yes, that's me. And when I have a bad day, I think, oh, no, I can't do that, which I suspect is true of all of us, male or women, male or female. But Ines, what is it that you've done differently to have, well, first of all, what percentage of your team is male female, just to give us that background, and secondly, what have you done differently? Thank you.
Yes, well, I mean, I have to say we are not doing as good as we should at all. We have around, I think, from 22 to 25% of women here in IQM Germany, which is not fantastic. So we are still far from this 50%. That would be, I think, the logical percentage. But it still is higher than, I have to say that our Finnish colleagues are doing slightly worse, and they are around, I think, 17% for the tech. I'm talking about the technical team, the technical function of the company. I think what we are kind of course, it's very hard to grasp what we are doing better or well. There are many factors, but one of them, I think, it's related to the company. So to the atmosphere that we have in our department here, which is very friendly. We really promote the scientific challenge. So a dialogue where we are really providing feedback, and we have, you know, everyone is able to openly challenge everyone else, but in a kind way that is really, I think, providing like a very friendly atmosphere where everyone feels welcome. So it's not really ego-based environment. This is more like a teamwork kind of environment, horizontal, etc. And obviously the fact that there are more women already in the team also, you know, makes more women follow the team. So it really provides this positive feedback loop. And but I think this, let's say, kind, open environment, horizontal, these are, I think, key to attract women in general, and also males that have some, you know, character traits that are not like super ambitious and escalating the corporative ladder and so on. So every kind of character is welcome.
So that's about creating a culture once somebody is within the organization. But I think that what Chloe and Olivier in another role were pointing to was the fact that actually, even at the level of getting applications in, for some reason, women are not being attracted enough to a career in quantum. So Vanessa and then Yelena, would you like to comment on that? Vanessa, maybe you first, please.
Yeah, we are making a big effort on trying to get that pool of people to choose from that is well balanced, and we really struggle with some positions. So one thing that we've done is, whenever we've been asked some of the recruiter companies that we work with, whenever you fish for a profile that might fit in the organization, bring it in. And we've actually built the position for the person because she was so ridiculously good that you know, we couldn't let her go. So that's a very unusual way of doing things, but is saving the day for this case, no, that we have on the table right now. The other thing that we're doing is a lot of speaking slots with the young communities. We are a spin-off from ICFO, so they are constantly organizing events for the students. And I always go there and I always try to encourage everybody, but also there is a little wink to women, no? Not to, again, if you see that you do not meet 10 out of 10 requirements for a job, do not discard yourself, no? Because the attitude should be, in that way, I think guys do a lot better. I have 5 out of 10, that should be enough. So more encouraging them to, don't be yourself the one who says no to what you can do, okay? Just keep pushing and get there. And then that's when the culture that Ines described kicks in and helps a lot. Being an interview, that's another thing that is very helpful. Having other women in case of any representation of whatever minority we want to encourage, is always good to have it as well, also in the room. That helps a lot to build the environment for this person to give the most of their skills in the interview and make it into the next step. Because at the end, we do all try to hire the best profiles, and they are out there. It's just that sometimes they just don't. I think we don't go for them, you know, as loud as we can.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's really interesting. So you find a person and then you tailor the position to them. That's quite something. That's definitely a commitment, and definitely, I think, an approach to consider. Yelena, what have you seen within your company, but within the industry more generally? Have you seen anything that really works?
Yeah, I mean, so I must say that what Ines already assessed the state at IQM, that we are also not where we would like to be, and what we can do to begin with. We need to start a discussion internally. We need to make everyone aware that we as women are also biased, especially when we are in a company where there's majority of men. So when you think of someone that can do the job, you think of Harry that's doing it great, so look for another Harry to do it, right? And but I think it's a multi-way street. I think women need to show up. They need to show up, and we also need to go and look after good women, and we also need to help them feel welcomed. We need role models. This is something that I think Denise was really putting it in a where it should be. Without women at the top, without women that are prominent, we will not attract more women. And there are many levels of maturity of these women that can come in at a very early age, even at master's degree, have an internship, go do PhD if they like, come back, and so on. But also women, say engineers, that can be reskilled and be attracted again into the company. I think companies can have programs and courses that they can send women to, of course, men as well, where they can actually get infected with love for the technology and really make an impact. So I wanted to actually, when it comes to role models, I just want to take a minute to say that, for example, one of the great examples of a company that's doing it great is OQC, Oxford Quantum Circuits. Ilana Visby is really, really strong and selfless in attracting women and using the best practice in big companies to attract women to OQC. Also, there are women in academia that also spun out their companies. When I see Natalia Ares, Eleni Diamanti, Michelle Simmons, these are the women that are so powerful and motivating for everyone to join in, that I think we should really have more of these. Of course, what Denise is doing and all of us.
Thank you, and indeed that was one of the reasons, of course, for having this panel was to highlight, the amazing range, I think, of skills and perspectives and roles that women are bringing to the quantum industry consortium, to the quantum industry more generally. If we just maybe come back to the issue of fundraising, and Olivia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was reading something a little bit earlier, which of course means I'm going to put you on the spot. But I was reading something earlier that was referring to, and this was about women in tech generally and how they're treated differently by VCs. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that Quantum Nation does this, but there is a problem in the VC industry generally about the questions that women are asked as founders. And the questions that are asked of men. And this piece of research, which was admittedly a few years old, I think it was from 2018, was suggesting that women are asked why they won't fail and men are asked why they will succeed. And of course, it's much more interesting to hear, your passion or what about why you're going to succeed than if you have to come up with all of these reasons that justify why you're not going to fail. Do you think, not your own practices, because I'm sure you don't do this, but do you see this as something that happens in your industry? And if so, what do you think can be done to, change that in some way? You may not necessarily agree that it's something that's there, but I think kind of suggest there's something. Yeah,
I think it's quite different in quantum because we never have come across one company that was funded by one single person. So we wouldn't have a company that was funded by just one woman. So it's a group of founders in which you will have women and men. And so we address them as a team and not as individual people. So maybe it's a bit different in that sector. Now, how to address that and how to avoid bias in investing? First thing is, well, we try to recognize that it's an issue. So that's the first point. Then the second point is we try to measure it by asking our portfolio companies before investing and after investing, where they stand on that topic, what are the stats, and that puts the topic on their agenda as well. We try, as I said, when there is a position to fill, to make sure that there will not be a bias and to generate as many candidates that are women as candidates that are men. And then I think it's also important, to look at ourselves and to promote more gender equality in the funds themselves. And it's something that we are starting and trying to do because we will not have the same point of view. And it's not only men and women, but diversity in general. And that's something that's important, I think, to have. People do not see the same things. And so it's important to have a diverse team. And we have seen some interesting initiatives with funds that were set up, same as startups that were set up by women. And I think it's important to encourage that fund. We have co-invested with a fund called Win Equity that can only invest in companies where there are women in the founding team. And I think it's interesting, and it's also with those type of fund that we need to co-invest more. Last thing is maybe not only reduce the topic to gender equality, but as Denise said, it's a diversity problem as a whole.
Yes, I think that everyone again on the panel was nodding vigorously at that. It is about diversity, and it's not just about.
One last thing. Sorry, to come back on what Chloe was saying. I was quite surprised by the fact that we may say it's difficult to find some women for technical roles, but it's also difficult to find them for let's say CFO or legal positions as well, which I was truly surprised. And we are trying to recruit a Secretary General for our fund, and it's not only for quantum, but in the finance industry. Well, it's difficult to generate as many candidates that are women as candidates that are men, also for legal positions, for example, or financial position, which truly was a surprise.
I have something to say to that, Tanya, if that's okay, because this brings it back. So is this common? No. So what do we need? Role models often comes as a very too normal example to all the request to give, but it is the truth. So before I joined Lux Quanta, oh my gosh, like I would so question myself, like, do I look like a CEO? Do I speak like a CEO? Do I behave like a CEO? And the answer to all those questions, looking at what we have out there, were absolutely no. So I made a conscious decision when I step up for this role. It's like, I'm not going to change anything of who I am. And I'm going to preserve it, because some of the best things I have to offer to the rest of the team and to the industry actually lie on, who I am. So I'm sticking to it. And that's the reason why having us all speaking out there and preserving this different style that is, it contributes. Again, is diversity, different styles, different approaches, all equally valid. Different ways of doing things that take us to accomplish our goals. They have to be seen, they have to be heard, so everybody can, at least I identify today, I'm hoping some in the audience identifies with Vanessa. So if she can, I can, so let's go for it, right?
Vanessa, I think that if we'd had everyone off mute, you would have heard a resounding round of applause there to your comments. I was at a conference 2 years ago, actually. It was Inspiring 50, and somebody super senior, I'm not going to say her name. In fact, it was a panel of senior women. You all know these names. I'm not going to repeat them, but they suggested that women had to fight for their rights, and they had to fight for this and fight for that. And I was so in disagreement. I was saying, no, neither men nor women should have to change who they are if they have the skills. And it's really good to hear you verbalize that and to say that that is not what you did, and you have and are being successful, will continue to be so in the future. And I think that you all as panelists share that, what you bring to your work, to the industry is your skills, your life histories, your experiences, and that's what makes you successful and valued, I think, in your companies, but also by colleagues outside your companies. So we have 7 minutes left. Maria, do you have some questions there that you would like to pull up from the audience?
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple of questions and there are also comments. Maybe I start from the bottom to the top. So the first one is, thanks to Olivier for being here, not too many men present. So any concrete actions to have more women in positions of power at Quantum Nation? So I think you already more or less give the details, but I also wanted to let you know the comment. And then there is another one. Hi all, how can we get enable support for quantum jobs positions for research students? So if any of you can answer that.
I think maybe Ness, you're in a really technical role, and you probably do have a very close connection to researchers. So maybe if you take that one, please.
Yes. Well, we do have some opening position for research students that want to join us for a few months, and of course we welcome the applications from female candidates. We are very happy to receive them, because I cannot agree more with Vanessa and the fact that we need a lot of different kinds of people joining us, and in that sense I think we in IQM are very focused in promoting this, what we call this quantum ecosystem. So this is really a role we try to play, and therefore I encourage Rani, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing correctly the name, to check out our webpage and look for this opening position, or even address directly our recruiters that are there. Well, you can check the email addresses there.
We are constantly releasing PhDs, industrial PhDs, master thesis. So the last 2 students that we have is 2 women, PhD, master thesis, and we keep opening positions. So it's the same as in S. Stay tuned to our website or LinkedIn page, click like, and then we'll let you know. And same at Edinburgh, of course.
And also joint PhD studentships that we also support. UK is actually very active there. The universities looking for partners in industry. So that's a good way to get experience with companies.
Okay, so we have another question. What is the best way to deal with new hires being promoted over you, despite having significantly more experience by objective measures?
Who would like to? Denise, why don't you come back into the conversation? And because you've got such a breadth of experience there in different companies over many years, I'm sure you will have faced that. So how do you deal with that when you're passed over for promotion in spite of having the skills that are required for the job? Do you just move to another company?
So this is really a hard thing. Often a male is promoted over a woman. And so I don't know what this situation is, but I look for companies that will promote people from within. And that's a really good interview question to ask. How many people have you promoted versus do you, I don't know, this is someone hired in, you know, and then takes over. So it's frustrating. Typically, I give it some time to see how it works, and then I might move on.
Because we are having a lot of questions right now, maybe I can shoot the next one. Do you think lowering entry barriers to jobs and education for international women in Europe will help increase the diversity? How can companies implement lower barriers?
Does anyone want to take that one? It's lower entry barriers for international women. So basically, is there a need to look at beyond Europe to get more talent in these technical areas? Does anyone have a view on that?
I'm shocked because I didn't realize, but it's actually true. There are many other countries in the world that are doing beautifully in terms of bringing more women to technical, careers. So that's something. Whenever the job allows for it, this should be facilitated, especially if we want to also have diversity. How to lower barriers? I think it's just the same as when you help an expat coming to your country. The company should be there for the entire process, beginning to end. Make it easy and just make sure that this person lands with everything he needs to execute on the job. But it's a very good question. It's a very good question.
It is, and if I may add, I think it's indeed very, very interesting, and our company makes a lot of effort. Our people from People and Culture Department, they really make a lot of effort on bringing people from different countries. I just wanted to comment that currently the geopolitical situation is making this more difficult, in particular bringing people from countries like Russia, Iran, China, etc. So we are really having a lot of troubles to bring people from these countries, and this is, I just wanted to comment that to me is really a pity, because my hope is that this is just a temporary situation and we can go back to being more global. But this is really happening right now, unfortunately.
It is. It's very, very complex. The geopolitical backdrop is severely acting as a barrier for so many things in science generally. So I think maybe just one more question, please, Maria, and then we.
Okay. So then I go for what are your suggestions for women beyond PhD or postdoc positions so that they want to make the transition between academia and industry in quantum?
Go for it. Sorry, I'm taking that one because I have two women working on the company that I left a wink when I was releasing the job description, because if somebody sees, quantum, they might freak out, especially a woman. So there was a wink to them saying, if you are worried about this quantum stuff, don't worry, we'll teach you everything you could possibly need to do a brilliant job. And we made it. We landed we got these two women into the company. So I would say, just do it. Do not stop yourself again. Do not stop yourself. Don't let anybody say to you, you cannot. Just fight for it. If you find the right culture, because I do believe that it's a lot about culture. So Olivier is here as a VC representing many companies here as well. find the right culture where you are appreciated. And if you are not finding that where you are, get out. Sorry, Ines already said this, and a lot of people here, we were all saying yes, get out, find the right place.
Get out and come into the quantum industry.
Actually, come to Lux Quanta. Yes, sorry. Come to Lux Quanta, okay?
So Vanessa, on that very welcoming and friendly and embracing note, I think that I would like to, of course, thank everyone on the panel. So Jelena, Vanessa, Chloe, Olivier, Ines, and the wonderful Denise that set the scene for the conversation that followed, but also all of you that have asked questions. Garrick, I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to ask your questions. That was a really interesting one about common cause with other technologies, but that would have been a very long answer, I think, and one that we'll save for next time. Thierry has just left to pick up his daughter from daycare, but I wanted to say on his behalf, thank you to the team at QuiC, who marvelous. So Maria, Miller, and Mattia, who have helped put this all together, and of course Suska, who's somewhere in the background there. Thank you for your support. Please do keep in touch. We will have more panels like this. We hope to repeat this particular one next year. And who knows, hopefully we'll have better figures to share. But in any case, we'll continue to highlight the role that women are playing in quantum and the men that are supporting that and making that possible. So Olivier, you know, carry on, keep up the good fight. I don't like using pugilistic terms, but anyway, I think it fits in this case. Thank you all, and have a great rest of the day for those of you who are in the other side of the world, and good afternoon to those of you in Europe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.